Reptiles make amazing pets, not only for kids, but for adults too. But what if you can't convince your parents or your spouse to let you get one? This is exactly how you're gonna do it. Now, to be clear, I want you to be okay with a no. I'm going to teach you how I think your parents or your spouse is going to say yes to you, and we're going to do that with logic, not with emotion. But first of all, you have to be happy with a no also. Manage your expectations. So don't go ahead and be like, Mom, I want a Burmese python. Mom, I want a tegu. The answer is going to be no, most likely, unless you have like really cool parents. Like my wife and I are pretty cool. We'd say yes. All jokes aside, be reasonable and realistic. The reason that I got a small dog, even though I've always wanted a golden retriever, I have one now because, I pay the bills and stuff. I live in my own house, not under my parents' roof, but I tried to weasel a dog into my parents' house when I was just, 19, about to move out a couple years later, because I knew that if I brought home a golden retriever, it would be not good. Me and the dog would be gone immediately. But I brought home a little Pomeranian who's now 14 years old. My parents loved this dog. They fell in love with him immediately. It was the easy way to get a dog into the house because it's a manageable small dog. Same thing with reptiles. If you ask your parents for a water monitor, it's just not realistic because that's an expensive animal. It's going to take tons and tons of space. It takes time to calm down. And same thing if you're talking to your spouse. If it's, a spouse that doesn't like reptiles to begin with or doesn't want you to have one, don't try to sell them on getting the craziest thing you can think of. But make sure that you are getting something you actually want. Don't get the crested gecko because mom and dad say yes, even though you don't want one. If you don't want one, don't get that animal. I promise you, you're gonna get bored of it, and next time you ask for something that you want, your parents are gonna say, well, you got bored of that crested gecko, it lost its novelty, and then we took care of it, so no. If you are a kid watching this trying to convince your parents, remember, the burden is on you. It's always on you to sell them. If you're an adult trying to tell your adult spouse, or trying to convince your adult spouse, I should say, then it's a little bit on both of you to be reasonable, especially if both of you are, paying the mortgage or the bills or whatever. It's, kind of a joint decision. If you're a kid, you're coming from a place of basically zero leverage. So you have to have an airtight sales pitch. And you're going to do that with logic, not emotion. This goes both ways, whether you're trying to convince an adult or as a kid. If your reasoning is because I really want one and they're super cute and my friend Rebecca has one, then that's an emotional argument. It doesn't work. Never argue based on emotion. This is not good just now, but in life in general. Use logic. And we're going to use, a bearded dragon is a pretty reasonable pet, I think, for most reasonable parents. If you're a responsible kid, that's the other thing. If you've shown yourself not to be responsible, best of luck. Of course, if you're an adult trying to explain this to another adult, use a clear head. My clear focus and today's video are both brought to you by Magic Mind. Just suck one of these down first and you'll be sure to win whatever sales pitch you're trying to go for. Magic Mind is great. Take it with coffee, without coffee, in the morning, afternoon, whatever. This video is it's 8 o'clock at night. I'm about to take this after I'm done showing it to you in the bottle. It's next to no liquid. You can take this down in one shot. It tastes pretty darn good, and it helps you focus all day or all night. I'm gonna edit this all night tonight. Every month it comes to your door. You pick your subscription plan, and if you decide that you don't want Magic Mind that month, you're going on vacation, whatever, you can take a break or cancel it, no questions asked. I love the fact that it comes to my door, and the fact that it is free shipping also doesn't hurt. Plus, I doubt you're gonna need to use this because I love this stuff, but there is a 100% money back guarantee if you decide you need it. 15 bottle case, take it every 2 days. 30 bottle case, take it every single day. I've done both, and I'm a 30 bottle type of guy now. Plus, clean, high quality ingredients. There's no junk in this stuff. I trust what's in it and what goes in my body. Ashwagandha, turmeric, all the names you know and you trust. And right now, if you go to the link below and use code WICKED20, you can get up to 48% off your first subscription for the next 10 days. This green stuff is pretty darn good. But let's use a crested gecko as a perfect example. The reason is it's a small gecko. It's probably the easiest gecko or easiest reptile on the planet, and it has 4 legs and a cute face. So if your mom's gonna say no to any snake, no matter what it is, even if it's a plastic snake, like my mom probably would have when I was a kid, this is gonna be your best bet. So let's use a crested gecko as the example. Start with why you want one. Mom, dad, spouse, husband, wife, whatever. I am in love with reptiles. I really want to learn more about them. I think that animals are amazing. And the reason that I like crested geckos so much, or whatever species you're trying to hook your parents onto or your spouse, is because this. If the objection is, well, we can't afford it, you can afford a crested gecko. And if you can't as the parent, then put it on yourself as the kid or adult who's trying to convince their spouse. We're just gonna say the kid from now on. You know what I'm talking about. If you're a kid and you get an allowance or you have a paper route, I don't know if that's still a thing, or you mow lawns or whatever you're doing to make money on the side, that is what you're going to use to pay for this animal, for the ongoing costs. So for example, a crested gecko, I think I did a whole video about it, but cost roughly $5 a week to take care of, maybe a little bit less than that. And in terms of time, maybe an hour a week, they take basically nothing. Barely more than a pet rock would. The financial objection is probably going to be, because that's an easy one to get over, is the setup. Because to buy everything you need for a crested gecko, this might be a little bit tough because you're going to be spending a couple $100 here at least, even if you buy things used. So first of all, buy things used to help you out. Second of all, if you have a birthday coming up or Christmas, say to your mom and dad, this is what I want for Christmas. I want the setup and the gecko, or go halvesies or whatever. And then explain to them how you're going to take care of this animal and how you're going to be able to pay for it. Then explain how you're going to keep the thing alive and not smelling. So crested geckos don't smell, so it's not going to be a burden to your parents. And this is going to be really important. Make sure your parents understand this is not going to be a burden, period. It's not going to smell. It's not going to take up space. They don't eat dead rodents. I mean, unless you're trying to convince them to get a snake. And if it's a crested gecko, you only have to feed live insects once every 2 weeks. I mean, I prefer more, but if we're trying to convince your parents here, the way that you feed them is a little powdered diet. You get a little thing of powder, you put it into a little cup or a bottle cap, you mix it with water, and that's it. And you do that every other day, and that's it. No bugs, no mess. I mean, spray them with a spray bottle, which you can get at the dollar store. And if you plant it right, it actually looks like art. So if, you know, it's an eyesore, but it doesn't have to be that either. And at this point, the objection might be, you know, because I said so, which when I was a kid, I absolutely hated. Now, as a parent, I understand why you might say that sometimes, but hopefully they give you a real reason, then you can use logic, not emotion, to overcome that. I want to give a word to the parents, but before I do, show this to your parents. If all else fails, my name is Adam Wickens. I've been working with reptiles for 20 years. I love these animals, and if you're being shown this video, it means that somebody is trying to convince you that they should be able to love animals the way that I do. And the best way is to have them as a pet. They don't cost very much money to set up. They cost next to nothing for upkeep. Some of them cost, you know, $5 a week, maybe even less than that. The time is next to nothing. Some of my reptiles take 30 minutes a week to take care of, so it's not gonna be a burden on your life. My biggest regret in life was not getting reptiles sooner, and the only reason I couldn't is because I wasn't allowed to. I still wish I could have had one when I was 8 or 10 or 12 years old. So if you have a responsible kid, give them a chance. Also, this part's for parents too. Maybe you're not going to show your parents this part, but if you're a parent watching, it's always going to be your reptile. Even if it's little Billy's reptile, it's your reptile. At the end of the day, you're the adult. It is your responsibility. Now, if your child doesn't take care of the responsibility, you could always rehome that animal. That's the other thing. If your kid brings home a dog, it's gonna be hard to rehome the dog once it gets attached to you guys. You can't really do that. Dogs form emotional bonds with people. Reptiles really don't. So if you were to rehome the animal, you wouldn't have to feel bad about it. Little Billy might cry, but if you're rehoming it, I mean, he did something to deserve not to have the animal anymore. You're probably putting it in a better situation if you're really trying to get rid of it. Also, keep in mind, even if little Billy, I don't know why I picked Billy, like, I don't know, not very many people name their kid Billy anymore, although it's a pretty sick name. If little Billy decides that he's not gonna do his paper route anymore, stop doing chores, and just doesn't have any money, it's gonna be on you. Now, the good news is reptiles are really cheap to take care of, especially certain ones, you know, leopard geckos, crested geckos, things like that. So just keep in mind, it's gonna be on you, and this isn't a hamster. If you get an 8-year-old hamster, it's gonna be dead by its 12th birthday for sure, probably by its 10th birthday. Their birthday. A reptile's not. If you get a leopard gecko who's a year old or, you know, 6 months old or whatever, for your 8-year-old, that animal is going to probably meet your kid's kid, your grandchild. They last a really long time. So be prepared when they go to college or whatever. I mean, it's going to be on them. They're going to be an adult at that point to rehome it, but just know that this animal is going to be with you for a while if you're taking care of it properly. One final note, if this is a spouse situation and you're trying to convince your spouse, you're both adults. I mean, if you have your own space, your own office or whatever, I don't, you know, but I would just urge whoever you're trying to convince to use logic instead of emotion. Just be adults with the whole situation. And if you're a kid, good luck. Hope that it goes well for you. With that said, thanks so much for hitting like and subscribe. Really appreciate it. Videos twice a week. If you want to support a little bit more, I really appreciate that too. For as little as $1 a month on the Patreon, you get videos early, discounts on merch, one-on-one. So if you want like a one-on-one conversation for me to convince your spouse or your parents, that's a good way to do it. Anyway, I do videos twice a week, so I'll see you in the next one. Although I realized I'm doing like a couple extra videos this month, so keep an eye out on Saturdays too. All right, see ya.